Am I the a-hole for refusing to walk my daughter down the aisle? My daughter, twin 6 female, and I haven't spoken in years. When she was 15, we found out she wasn't my biological daughter, and that my wife had cheated on me years ago with a friend. As it turns out, the so-called friend was suddenly interested in playing dad. My wife and I divorced. My daughter learned the truth, and I told her I still loved her no matter what. Of course, she was interested now in getting to know her biological father, and while it hurt, I tried to accept that. She started pulling away from me after that. Even when trying to still do things together as a family, she was no longer interested. The last straw was when she was 20 and living at my house. We were arguing because she dropped from her college courses, hasn't done anything for 3 months, and mad because I told her she either needed to go to school or work if she wants to stay here for free. She told me I'm not her real dad, so stop pretending like I am, and that she'll just go stay with her real father. That broke me, honestly. But I told her if that's how she really feels, then there's really nothing left to say between us. And she didn't move out to go live with him. I was depressed for a very long time, drank so much. My son, 24 male, was my only reason to keep moving forward. For the first couple years, I reached out to my daughter, but she wanted no contact, and I learned to accept that and move on. It helped me find more peace in my life. My son stopped talking to her for a while over this and was angry with her. They still chat sometimes, which doesn't bother me at all, and through him I learned her biological father died in October 2019, and also that she's engaged. She then reached out to me. First, that she knows that we haven't talked in a while, but wants to ask me if I'd be willing to walk her down the aisle. After a pretty long message about how much she hurt me in the past with her actions, I told her no. She didn't want me to be her father anymore, so I learned to no longer view her as my daughter. This turned into a fight between us because, according to her, it's not her fault she wanted to know her real dad. And I agree with her it's not, but what was her fault was how she treated me ever since. In my mind, I know if he hadn't passed away, we wouldn't even be speaking right now. It ended with telling her I hope she enjoys her wedding, but I want no part of it or her life. My son has told me she's ranting to my family that I'm ruining her day, and she thought parents are supposed to love their kids unconditionally. My brothers seem to think now that I'm being a-hole, and that this is my chance to be in her life again. But I have no interest in that. Still seems everyone has a strong opinion on it, that I'm making it difficult for my daughter to have the wedding she wants when it would mean a lot to her. My son is on my side, but the comments are still wearing me down. And just for the sake of my sanity, am I being an a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. She decided that you're not her father in any capacity. You respected that. Now that the other guy is dead, she doesn't get to change the rules. She doesn't want you. She wants someone to play a part. Maybe your son can be the one to give her away instead. Or her mom can walk her down the aisle. Maybe, but my son already said he's not going to the wedding. Not over this. He just doesn't want to. So don't know what his response would be if she asked him. They're not close despite talking every now and then. Not today, home. Wow, Opie. I'm so sorry to read through your story, and some people may disagree, but I really don't think you're the a-hole. You attempted contact throughout the years, but it wasn't you that became distant. It was your daughter. She wanted to get to know her bio dad. Nothing wrong with that. But at the expense of becoming distant and eventually having no contact with you, her dad who had been there for her since she was born. Now the bio dad isn't there to walk her down the aisle. Opie, if she wanted you at her wedding, you would have gotten an invitation, and not become a stand-in for deceased bio dad. Why can't your brother walk her down the aisle? Personally, I think she just wants her wedding to look good, irrespective of how you feel. Not an a-hole at all. He said he's not going to the wedding regardless, but I'm not sure if she would ask him. Hi, Opie. I'm adopted. It is entirely possible to have a relationship with multiple sets of parents. When I found my bio dad, my adoptive dad invited him to a Father's Day barbecue. My bio dad asked if he would be stepping on his toes. My adoptive dad said, more people loving my daughter is a good thing. Not today, home. She's just mad that this will ruin her day. Has no concerns over your thoughts and feelings. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my dad I'm glad his stealing my money gave his marriage bad luck? My mom died when I was 10, and she left me money in trust with my grandparents in charge. But my dad got access to it due to him being my dad and knowing about it, and paid for his wedding with it a few months later. I hated him for it. Then afterward, he and his wife had a worse luck. She lost her job and had to take a huge downgrade, and then they couldn't have kids. Then my dad's longest friend told him he was done with him after they'd had a fight a couple of months before that. My dad got also passed over every promotion since. I know it's not my mom, but I like to think my mom gave them the bad luck when they used her money to pay for their wedding. Though my grandparents secretly put the money to a different account and considered it my mom's money for me still, so I didn't fully miss out. But my dad didn't care if I did. I'm now 20 and kinda estranged from my dad. I saw him at my pop's, his dad's, house a couple of weeks ago, and he was ranting to me about not being there after the crap they have gone through. I told him I was glad stealing brought him bad luck, and to leave me alone. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. He reaped what he sowed. Can't blame anyone except for his a-hole self. I think this may be one for the history books as positive proof of witchcraft. Not mad about it at all. Leaving the new wife aside, I'm thinking that the reason your dad's been passed over for every promotion and the fact he used money meant for you for himself might be one and the same. I'm sure if he's that entitled and selfish, it's probably coming across in his work too. Not the a-hole. Exactly. People who would steal from their children by literally breaking the law will not all of a sudden be moral and decent human beings in every other aspects of their lives. And same thing goes for the new wife. Yep, my a-hole dad stole my inheritance. Our estrangements began with a lawsuit. Not the a-hole, but several people failed you here. A trust set up by others is meant to prevent anyone who isn't a trustee, parents included, from accessing it. Being your dad wouldn't have given him free access. He'd have needed special permission to access it, usually done through court, and he would have had to prove why he needed it and how it was being used for you. Besides that, only your grandparents would have been able to access it to give him permission since they were trustees. We believe it was the bank that ultimately failed me. The bank account my dad went in with my papers and gained access that way. My grandparents were furious. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for charging my sister full price for the costume baskets plus robes, forcing her to possibly have to return her dream wedding dress? Basically, a couple months ago, my female 19 sister 30 was telling my mom she had a really tight budget for her wedding and couldn't afford a big wedding she had dreamt of. So I offered to help her find cheaper alternatives to the decorations she wanted. She asked if I could make the bridesmaids costume baskets and robes with their names on it for less than half of what I charge, because she couldn't find someone who could make it for a cheap enough price. So I agreed. Eventually, she managed to save a lot and was able to get the dress she originally wanted. I figured everything else was fine, until last week. My sister decided she did not want kids at her wedding because she wanted the adults to enjoy themselves and drink. I still thought nothing of the sudden change, until she told me I was no longer invited to her wedding. When I asked her why, she said because I was to be considered a kid since I can't drink. She said I was still invited to the wedding rehearsal, but that's it. I told her since I wasn't invited to the wedding, to find someone else to do the costume robes plus gift baskets, or pay me full price for it. This meant she would have to return her dress because everything else she had for the wedding was already the cheapest she could find. Both my mom and dad say I'm being petty, and that I should still do it because she's my sister. Her fiancé has also called me self-centered and childish, and my brother agreed with him. Am I the a-hole here? Edit. Some people suggested she uninvited me for a different reason, but we haven't had any argument in a while. And the last big argument was last year, so I don't see what I could have done to make her uninvite me. But thank you guys for the comments. Also, I live in America, so I legally can't drink for another 2 years. But I didn't have a problem with not drinking anyways. Also adding, I was invited. I didn't assume I could go. She was there when I bought my dress. Now for the comments. Not the a-hole. You're 19 and immediate family, not a toddler for distant relative. Is she also going to uninvite anyone who's teetotal or simply doesn't drink? The adults can still enjoy themselves. You're in no way preventing that. Tell her that if you're considered a kid, fulfilling her request would be child labor, and you wouldn't want to encourage her to do something so unethical as to capitalize on that. I love the child labor comment. That's the reason the OP should give to her sister for not doing baskets and robes. Not the a-hole. I'm shocked that she would uninvite you and call you a child after using you for cheap labor. That is ridiculous. She can pay you full price or re-invite you. She doesn't have to have a wedding at all. If she can't afford some things, that's her problem. Not the a-hole. Yep, it would be sucky behavior even if she was some random friend or a distant relative. But own sister? Yeah, no. Next story. Am I the a-hole for publicly calling out my sister and her new husband for lying about their wedding being child-free? My stepdaughter, 15, Jane, has a burn scar around her neck and covers one side of her face. The reason was an accident that took place 4 years ago. And yes, she's already gotten tons of insensitive comments. But to me and her dad, she's still the most beautiful soul. My family's been supportive and loving towards Jane. My sister and her now husband got married days ago. They told me and my husband they decided the wedding would be child-free, meaning Jane couldn't come. They asked if that'd be okay, and we said yeah, absolutely. Respect the bride and groom's rules. I've immediately arranged for Jane to stay with a friend that she calls Auntie, though Jane wanted to attend the wedding. But I explained this was a rule for everyone, and we should respect that. My husband and I got to the venue, and first thing we noticed was kids. Kids of all ages all around the venue. My husband literally stopped walking. He paused for a few seconds, looked at me, then let go of my hand and said he was out of there. He walked out, but I stood still when my mom saw me and signaled me to come join the family. But I didn't go. He asked one of the guests who had his kid with him, and he said this event allowed kids. I was seeing red at this point because I was fooled into leaving Jane at home and coming with my husband only. I ignored Mom and went straight to where my sister and her husband were standing. Then I blew up at them asking why they lied about this being a child-free wedding when it wasn't. I asked them in front of everyone why they decided to basically lie to me and my husband and get us to exclude our daughter. Why? Is Jane somehow different from the other kids who showed up? My sister tried to calm me down, but I bluntly asked if it was because her step-niece has a burn scar / visible injury that she and her husband were too ashamed of. I literally heard guests saying, "Oh." Mom tried to get me to step off the stage, but I proceeded to call my sister and her husband awful, insensitive people with no respect for me or their niece. My sister started crying, saying she would never, and that I misunderstood, and brother-in-law begged me to go sit. But I refused, and said I wasn't interested in celebrating / supporting their marriage after this. I walked out, and was followed by my mom and aunts lashing out, saying I went out of line, and was disrespectful for the bride who is my sister for God's sake, and ruined her wedding by saying that in front of everyone. Mom said it was brother-in-law's idea, and I have a right to be mad, but I should have confronted her later, not in front of guests and ruining the event. They said eventually this was their day, and they get to decide. But still, they said I should have spoken to her privately or left instead of making a scene. Not they home. They deserved every bit of embarrassment. Yep, just showed all their friends and family the true versions of themselves. Not they home. What shocked me about this was that your mom clearly knew this lie was happening and didn't tell you. What did she expect? That you would be okay with it? Your daughter clearly has great parents who love her and a sucky extended family. People turn into absolute monsters over making sure their wedding looks perfect. I'll never understand why these kinds of people are so quick to ruin their relationships over trying to present a certain image to others. Not they home. I'm glad they got called out in front of everyone for being horrible people. Your poor daughter is probably sensitive about the scar as it is. This would make her feel so much worse. I hate to think about how she'd feel if she finds out about this. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for not wanting to pass down my engagement ring to my future daughter-in-law? My son Sam, 26, and his longtime girlfriend, now fiancée Emily, 26, finally decided to get married. They had announced their engagement privately to my husband and me, and after the initial excitement, they said they had something important to talk to me about. Sam wanted my engagement ring to give to Emily. Sam said this would be a great way to keep him from starting his marriage in debt, from having to buy a new expensive diamond ring. Emily also added that she has liked the look of my ring a lot, and would love for me to pass it down to her. I love my engagement ring. I've worn it every day since my husband proposed to me with it, and to be honest, I still have plenty of years to live that I want to keep wearing it until I am old and gray. Also, my ring is not a family heirloom. My husband chose and bought this ring for me many years ago. So I told them that I appreciated them wanting my ring, but no, I wanted to keep it. I listed out the reasons above, and how I don't want to part with my ring yet for the rest of my still long life. However, when I am old, I would be more than happy to give it to their future children. Well, Sam and Emily weren't happy with my answer, and Sam actually called me selfish and materialistic. He said that diamonds are a scam, and asked how I could let him go into debt to buy a new ring. Emily was disappointed, and said that she had hoped that my ring could become a family heirloom, and it would be a token of accepting her into our family. I've always liked Emily, and we got along great. They also said that I could keep my wedding band, so it wasn't like they were leaving me without any rings to wear. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole, and I almost can't even believe this. They're calling you materialistic? They can get married without any diamond ring at all. It's hardly a requirement. Your son is additionally an a-hole for asking you this with Emily right there in front of you. That's like a kid who asks his mother, "Can Jimmy spend the night?" with a friend there so mom can't say no. Bad enough that Emily was there too. But Emily actually piping up to express her own disappointment? This is gobsmacking. What's next? They ask to be gifted Opie's house so they don't start their marriage in debt? While we're at it, go ahead and throw in all your savings. You two are old and your life is basically over anyway. If I was OP, I'd be seriously questioning where me and my husband went wrong in raising the self-absorbed a-hole, and how he could possibly have turned out this way. Not the a-hole. Time for them to grow up. That crap floored me too. So not the way to start off your relationship with your mother-in-law. Also, if they're so concerned about materialism and cost of a diamond, then they could always get a cheaper stone. Hell, pawn shops are full of other people's heirlooms and diamond rings for a bargain. If Opie's son is insistent on an actual diamond while still being a cheap a-hole. Edit. Thanks to everyone who commented. I liked reading about your own engagement rings and diamond alternatives. My husband did defend me, and had told our son to leave and walk it off when he started arguing with me. He said he's on my side, and would have respected my decision with the ring, but he admitted that he was happy that I still love my ring so much after all these years. Am I the a-hole for going off on my sister for saying her bio kids are our kids? So, my older sister has 5 kids by different men. Her first child was abandoned to my mother shortly after birth. Her second child was attempted to be given to a co-worker at 9 months old. Attempted, as in the co-worker offered to babysit the kid, but was surprised when she got baby's diaper bag with birth certificate, social security card, and a note saying, "You keep the little witch, I don't want her." Social services ended up getting involved, and my mother got her as well. Next 2 children are with both of their wonderful dads, and 5th is currently with her after the dad kicked them both out. From the entire time my mom had the kids, my sister never once visited, or specifically, called about them. She'd call sharing some news, then as an afterthought she would ask about the first kid, but never the second, before she hung up the phone. My mom died a year ago, and my husband and I offered to take the 2 now teenagers. My sister was all for it. She came around and talked to them for a little bit, filled their heads with stories of how she tried everything she could to be with them, and pretty much telling them that she wasn't in their lives because a series of unfortunate events. So, we have the kids now for a year, and during this time my sister has made efforts to ask about them. She has bought them gifts, and she occasionally Skyped with them. I will mention, though, that I allowed their relationship to grow as long as all 3 parties were okay with it. At first, I would set up awkward Skype calls where they all tried to get to know each other once a week. After a couple months, I told everyone that I won't be setting it up anymore, that they are free to talk to each other whenever they'd like, without feeling pressured. After that, things kind of just went cold, and the kids said they just don't feel comfortable with it. The last factor to take in consideration is this. When my husband and I were filing paperwork, my sister looked over the form, and she said she agrees to everything on the form. Us being responsible for insurance, us having physical and legal custody, except the parts where she has to pay child support. She said she was in arrears for never paying child support for her kids, and she wouldn't be able to get a driver's license if she had to owe even more. So she wouldn't sign until we agreed to not ask for child support. One thing that has been bothering me, when I text my sister, she always asks about our kids. How is our kids doing? She hasn't been there for these kids for all but the last year of their lives, and refuses to financially support them at all. And she has the nerve to call them our kids? I finally snapped, and told her as much. I later got a text from my other 2 sisters saying that it wasn't called for, that my sister is their birth mother, and that she has been trying with the kids lately. Now I'm wondering if I was being an a-hole to my sister and should apologize. My sister was really upset about it. She said she was the one that gave birth to them, and I was just the aunt, and said she wanted to be nice and say they were both of our kids. Now for the top comments. Not a hole. Your sister was an egg donor for you and your parents' children. Nothing she has done has shown her to be a mother. Funny how the one who gave birth to them has never spent any time raising them. It would be odd to just tell her sister that she's not welcome in her home or around her kids. She doesn't come in my home. We live across the country from each other. And luckily, the kids don't seem to want anything to do with her. And she doesn't really ask to talk to them. She really just talks to me about them and sends them gifts. Not a hole. She's probably only making an effort now because they're teenagers, and she figures most of the work has already been done, so it's safe to connect with them now. I bet she never asked about them when they were little because she was worried someone might make her take them back. They're also getting to be of age where they can get jobs. Gotta get on their good side now so she can hit them up for money later. I'm hoping that won't happen. The kids learned a bit about my sister from my mom. When they ask me about things they want to fact check, I either say, yes, I know for a fact that is true. No, I know mom is lying, or I wasn't there for that, so I don't know for sure. The kids seem to have made up their minds already about how they feel about her without my influence, so hopefully they wouldn't feel obligated if that situation arose. Not a hole. Okay, so you snapped, but it's clear why you did. Those kids are yours because you're the one sane adult who stepped in to raise them. To heck with what your sisters and their texts are saying, but they aren't the ones raising someone else's children. They can say whatever they want, but you are still the better person. Good on you for being there for those kids. Thank you. I really appreciate hearing that. After everyone turned on me, I started to really feel horrible. I felt like I had no right to be upset at my sister who is trying to get back in their lives. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my partner that my stepson spends too much time at our home and his mother needs to make more of an effort? Okay, so I've been dating this guy now for nearly 8 months. We've been living together for 2. Everything was going great and we're like best friends and have so much in common. But his 4-year-old son is now proving to be a bit of a strain on our relationship, and I feel like I can't take him anywhere. His son throws tantrums, slams doors when he doesn't get what he wants, smashing the glass in my sister's door. When we buy him things, he says, I didn't want that or I don't like it. When we take him to a store, he picks up everything he sees and throws tantrums when he doesn't get them. Spits his food out when we cook for him, tells us he doesn't like us, making my 7-year-old niece cry when he says horrible things to her as well as throwing her things off of our balcony, etc. He's a nightmare. Let me just add that his dad always has to buy him new toys every time he takes him out, which I told him he shouldn't. His mother is now treating us like a daycare. And she had him for 1 day last week and having him for 2 next week, while she goes on holiday with her new boyfriend and going out with friends. My partner is now currently unemployed, and I'm the main breadwinner and struggling to support all 3 of us due to having to buy extra food and more gas and electric usage. I'm also woken up at 7 a.m. every Saturday and Sunday because my stepson wants the iPad charging or more games downloading, when weekends are supposed to be my time after working all day Monday to Friday. I don't finish until 8 p.m. I told my partner this has to stop, and my place cannot be treated like a daycare. He needs to either A, take him out weekends, or B, rotate it so we have him every other weekend. I feel like my life has been taken over as well as my apartment. As his son has his own bedroom and my things have been taken out of drawers and placed into plastic bags which I'm now living out of. My partner is struggling being away from his son, and I feel horrible for giving him ultimatums. But I feel I need to look after myself too, as I never did in my last relationship. I suffer from depression and anxiety, and I feel this whole living situation is making things worse. Am I the a-hole? Edit. I am not trying to stop my partner seeing a son. I am merely implying that the kid needs routine and equal time with both mom and dad on rotating days, in which my partner also agrees. I know they come as a package, and I'm willing to take this on, but neither parent is financially supporting this child. Everyone sucks here. Your house is not being treated like a daycare. It's being treated like the home of a child's parent, which it is. You are in a relationship with a parent. You either need to come to terms that he might wind up with his kid full-time, or you need to not be in a relationship with a parent. Little kids get up early, and if that bothers you, you should not be living with a kid and his parent. Not at all reasonable to tell the parent that his child just needs to not exist in your space. Your partner sucks for putting you in a position where you are living out of bags in your own home, for not disciplining his child, for spoiling his child, for putting the entire burden of supporting himself and his child on you. But here's the thing, he is not going to change. This is how he parents. This is how he deals with his ex. You've been dating less than a year and this guy already has you supporting him. You are feeling mental health effects. You are struggling financially. Looking after yourself is the correct choice, but the way you are doing it is not okay. The 4-year-old is a product of the parenting he is being provided. Your boyfriend is showing you what to expect. So either accept and get on board with a kid taking over your life because that's what they do, or move this guy back out and think about whether this relationship will work long term. Everyone sucks here. Based on your post history, there is a lot more going on here. You had jumped right into moving in with a man you've been with for 6 months, after only recently leaving a horrible man you were with for 11 years. You have still been posting about the ex in a very real, active way since this new relationship started. You are not ready to move on. What you are doing isn't healthy for you, for your new boyfriend, and for the child. You need time alone, a therapist, and peace and quiet. Leave. This is not a healthy dynamic for anyone, and it's up to you to take the reins and fix that. Everyone sucks here. Your partner may have some good qualities, but he sounds like a pretty crappy parent, and that's unlikely to change. And the fact that he has a kid really isn't going to change. So you need to think about whether or not you can live with that. You have not been turned into a daycare. Your partner has a kid. This is the deal when you date someone with a kid. If mom dies or pieces out, you're gonna have this kid 24/7. I encourage you to have some empathy for the kid too. He is a little person with some big feelings who has been shunted around his whole life, and is likely given everything he wants because the parents feel some guilt. He's doing what's been reinforced. FYI, I don't blame the child for his behavior. His behavior is down to the parents, and I believe he needs some stability in his life. I hope you realize that having him and your partner move in when you only knew him for 6 months is likely a big factor in this lack of stability. I'm going to have a word with my partner tonight. I was happy leaving it 12 months before meeting a son, but my partner couldn't wait that long. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole because I didn't want to keep giving my sister money? I'm 19 female and I recently started a new temporary job a few weeks ago that I love. I finally heard back from this field trip instructor / teaching assistant job where I help at the school and they pay me and everybody $16 per hour because of the travel and hard work. I feel like I made the mistake of answering my sister, 26 female, when she asked how much I was making, and now she's been asking me for favors or wanting to be close lately. Her boyfriend, 27 male, and her make minimum wage, which is a little above $8 per hour in our state. So since money has been an issue for them, I guess that's why she has been asking me for some in small amounts, but it piles up. Like her $20 for groceries and $15 to buy takeout is going to pile up, and I've probably given $100. It doesn't bother me that much since I still have enough for savings, but I feel like all of a sudden my sister sees me as a moneymaker. So I tried to back away or spend less, but she caught on. I don't know if they'll censor it, but she called me the C word and a witch for turning my back on family now that I'm doing better than them. It's starting to get to me emotionally because she was never like this. And I know she's not good with money either since she gives it to her boyfriend for spending, so she doesn't have much either. Am I the a-hole really? Because I've tried to put a stop to giving her money. Now for the comments. Not the a-hole. It ain't your job to subsidize her. If she needs money for takeout, she can get a second job. Or buy actual groceries, which are way cheaper. Or food pantry, community meals, food kitchens, EBT, or any other available programs. Not the a-hole. You do not owe her a penny. Takeout? Takeout is a luxury. Why would you fund her luxury items? Agreed. Not the a-hole. We are comfortable, and I still hesitate to get takeout. It's expensive, and we have groceries that were just bought. I still consider it a luxury due to its expense. Not the a-hole. She's using you for your money. She's the a-hole. What is stopping her from getting higher paying job? She finished her university education, but she hasn't been able to get one that pays more despite applying everywhere. And it's not just me she's asking, but also other people too, like my mother, our aunt and cousin, etc. Last story is titled, Am I the a-hole for buying a toy that I only want my nephew to use at my house and not letting my sister-in-law take home? Yesterday morning, I, 25 female, found a Power Wheels John Deere tractor at a yard sale that didn't work, but it was only $15. And I thought it was worth getting for my nephew, 3 male, to see if my boyfriend, 27 male, could fix it. I moved in with my boyfriend last weekend, and he has a big field that I thought my nephew would love to ride it in. I bought it yesterday morning, and then yesterday evening after my boyfriend got off of work, we took his truck to the house and picked it up. They also had a little trailer that went with it that they threw in for free. My boyfriend and his friend worked on it for like an hour once we got home, and ended up getting it working by taking apart the gear shifter and cleaning the electrical connections inside it. I was pretty excited to show my nephew. Every month, I spend a day watching my nephew so that my brother, 28 male, and sister-in-law, 28 female, can relax and get stuff done. I also really enjoy spending time with him. Normally, I'll take him to the zoo or the beach or someplace like that, but he is potty training right now, and I didn't feel comfortable going anywhere. So I decided to just hang out with him at my house with my boyfriend and give him the tractor to drive around. He had a blast with the tractor. He would drive around the field, pick up sticks and rocks and put them in the trailer and then move them somewhere else. He had a huge grin the entire time, and by the time the battery went dead, he was getting pretty good at driving it. When my sister-in-law came to pick him up, he showed her his new tractor and she wanted to put it in their SUV to take home. I said that I preferred the tractor to stay at my house so that he would be excited to come over and play with it, and they don't have a very big yard to drive it in anyway. She then proceeded to say I was being an a-hole, in nicer words, for getting him a really cool present that he is only allowed to use at my house. Not an a-hole. There's nothing in this scenario any different than having a pool or tire swing that he'd be excited to play with, except it moves. And when he's older, he'll have fond memories of your house and the tractor. Not an a-hole. And the sister-in-law should be happy that Opie wants to keep toys around to entertain her nephew, instead of expecting sister-in-law to bring things with her every time to keep him occupied. Not to mention, it's pretty petty to call Opie an a-hole over that, when Opie's willing to give up time just to make sure her brother and sister-in-law can have some time away from the kid. That's not an obligation on Opie's part. That's a courtesy. Not an a-hole. My mother has always kept toys at her house for when she babysat grandkids, and it was understood that these toys were specifically for when the kids visited. I think your sister needs to understand that as well. Not to mention if you have other nieces or nephews, eventually this will be something for them to play with when they come visit you. Not an a-hole. It's like if you let him play with an iPad. That's something he can do when he visits your house, and obviously isn't something he gets to take home because he likes it so much. If he likes it so much, the mom could go buy him one for their house, but you are definitely in your right for keeping it at your house because it's yours, and you could even keep it for when you have kids. If you want kids, of course. Did the boy know it was going to stay at your house? If so, not an a-hole. But the members of our family who have had kids over keep toys at their house. It makes life easier. I think that's a great idea. I didn't really present it as a gift or anything to him. As far as he knows, it's just part of my boyfriend's tractor collection. He has a big tractor and riding mower, so this one looks really cute sitting next to them. This was the first time he has ever been to this house too. First story is titled, Am I the a-hole for making my father-in-law homeless because he doesn't respect my job? Because of the divorce of his second wife and the pandemic, my father-in-law had difficulties to find a new home, and we offered to take him in. I studied to become a teacher and started very fresh with this job. It's complicated because I have to do everything online, but I love it. I work from home. We have a guest room, but before father-in-law moved in, I said to him that I have to work from this room. My desk, books, and everything is there, and if that would be a problem, he can stay in the living room. He said it's not a problem. Since the day he moved in, the drama begun. He makes comments about how useless my subjects are: history, politics, and philosophy. He was a policeman, but he got a health issue, so it doesn't work anymore. He said the children should learn things that help society and not become dumb philosophers. I tried to explain him what we talk and discuss in these lessons, but he didn't listen. Then he started ranting to my partner, when he is home, how teachers are overpaid because they only have to babysit children, and everybody can do that. He, as a father, saw himself as a teacher too, for his sons, and he didn't need a degree or that much money. I'm from Europe, Germany, and yes, I'm happy with the pay, but it's not like it makes me rich. My partner said to him that is not true and ended the discussion. Then he came in the guest room while I had a Zoom meeting in the morning with a beer in his hand and only a shirt and boxer shorts. I was super angry and disappointed. I talked to him later about this and said that it makes a false impression for my students. He disagreed and said it's his room. We discussed it for hours, but it was a wasted time. I often drive to my students to bring them a copy from the stuff we do if they don't have access to the internet or no way to print it. My father-in-law said that I'm overdoing it because he's here, and that teachers are lazy and have too much free time. I tried to tell him politely how much work teachers who love their job have, but he didn't listen. Next day, when I left the room for 2 minutes to get something for the Zoom meeting, he went in the guest room and chatted with my students. They were all really uncomfortable about my subjects and how useless they are. I had enough. I said to him that I get he's on a low point in his life, but this was one step too far. He said, if you can't master your own father-in-law, how will you master 25 kids? And I said to him that I don't need to master adults. I told him to leave, and when my partner came back, he stood by my decision. When my father-in-law was away, he told me he found me too harsh and that it's kind of an a-hole move to kick him out because he makes bad jokes about my job. His younger brothers called us later, hearing the story from their dad, and told us we will never be invited again in their households after we prove that family isn't important to us. Now for the top comments. Not an a-hole. Him doing that on Zoom could lead to consequences for you at your job. Also, ironic that he thinks philosophy makes you dumb. As a fellow teacher, 100% this. You can be sacked for this. The parents would cause a scene about this, and the teacher involved would be sacked for this. You need to lock the door when you're on Zoom teaching. This is unacceptable behavior, and people like that don't understand just how hard us teachers work. They think it's babysitting and chill, but they don't see us sitting there right up until the 6 p.m. deadline, entering the date at 5:59 p.m., trying to get it done or it's your head on the blocks, or staying up until midnight to finish planning, and then getting up at 5:30 a.m. to get into school early to set up, etc. It's hard work. Not at a-hole. Please send the rest of the family an update as to how your father-in-law behaved, and why you had to kick him out. He will burn you for kicking him out. You have every right to share the exact reasons with family and friends. Don't be a scapegoat. You protected yourself, your work, your students, and your home by kicking him out. You did a decent thing. No kidding. If he wants to play the family card, they have every right to tell the truth to the family members. How the father-in-law treats family by blatantly disrespecting someone who took them in and gave them shelter, and who deliberately jeopardized their job by sabotaging his teaching. He doesn't have to genuflect to OP every day, but it's not asking a lot to not openly ridicule someone for their interests and not interfere with one's legitimate job. Yeah, who needs history and politics lesson to help today's society? And what's to learn from German history anyway? Oh wait, not a day-hole. Cheers from Berlin and thank you for your service. The next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for telling my dad he chose his wife but I didn't? So, my dad has been married to his wife, Regina, fake name, since I was 10. I have issues with her that just get ignored, so I do my best to keep to myself and not start fights or be rude. Basically, I am civil but try to avoid her the best way I can. She and my dad don't like that, and she has tried to bond with me a lot in the last 6 years. I'm 16 female, by the way. My dad decided we all needed to go to therapy because it wouldn't be good for my half-brother to grow up in a family where we're not close. We started therapy in October, and we have seen, I think, 3 different therapists since then. This current one he likes, so we're staying put. But sessions are basically him just saying what the issues are, what fix he wants, and telling me I need to put more effort into this family. Then 2 sessions ago, he said that we chose to make Regina part of this family, so we need to do what we can to make this work for everyone. I told him that he chose Regina, but I didn't, and that I get it. As the kid, I don't get that power, but I told him I could not say I chose her. He told me I did. I pointed out that I actually told him I didn't like her before they got married and I didn't want him to marry her. He did it anyway. I'm not bitter about it. By now I get that it was his choice, but it annoyed the crap out of me when he made it sound like I actively wanted her. The therapist doesn't really say or do anything, except ask me why I feel that way and why not give her a chance, so there's not much point there. My dad told me it was rude and mean-spirited to say I didn't choose her in front of Regina and in front of the therapist. He told me that the wedding was us choosing her. I told him if that's what he believed, then go right ahead. But I never did choose Regina. Regina also couldn't believe I didn't choose her and has been upset and crying for the last 2 weeks. She said she didn't understand what she did. Except I did tell her and my dad before, and it was ignored. It was also ignored in one session with a different therapist, and even though that therapist did try to explore it, we never saw him again after that session. Am I the a-hole? And because people will ask, my issues with her started when she moved in first. She made comments about my mom leaving me, but she didn't. She's just unable to take care of me after an accident left her disabled, and she's in a nursing to get around-the-clock care. Then, she talked about adopting me due to abandonment before they were married. She told me she would like it if I called her mom, so we could feel more like a real family. There was a 2-year period of that. Then she got pissed at my grandparents for taking me to see my mom during my visitation with them, and made a huge stink out of it. And then she was pissed when they gave me my mom's locket that she had wanted me to have eventually, though I'm guessing not under the circumstances, because she wanted to give me one with a photo of her and my dad. Now for the comments. Not the a-hole. You can't be forced to like her. And it sounds like your dad is deliberately choosing therapists that don't listen to you. That's likely to be counterproductive. It took 3 therapists to find the one that agrees with him, and yet he still thinks it's his daughter with a problem. Lol. Not the a-hole. You should not be going to a therapist and lying. How good a therapist is this if the best she can say is to give this lady a chance and not stop your dad from telling you what you chose? Yeah, not the best one. We had a good one, and we left after things started being revealed. I see. This situation is very toxic. You don't take someone to therapy to make them do what you want. You take them to therapy to understand them better. I'm sorry you're in this situation. Not the a-hole. This is therapy. If there's anywhere you should be able to express your feelings, it's there. Your father doesn't want to work out the issues. He thinks you're the problem. You're broken and need to be fixed. He wants you to comply. He wants to make Regina happy whether you like it or not. He is putting her over you, and you will go through therapists until he finds one that agrees with him. Regina sounds all kinds of messed up, like she tried to erase your mother's existence. As soon as you can, move out. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not letting my ex move into my flat? I, 32 female, recently inherited a house from my grandparents. I moved in along with my 2-year-old daughter about a month ago, and have been looking for a boarder for the downstairs apartment. It is fully self-contained, but I want to be picky about the tenant as we are close to a university, and I don't want any loud parties or music late at night, so I'm offering it for very cheap. $150 a week. Market for similar in this area is $250 to $350. With some conditions like no loud music after 8 p.m., no gatherings of more than 7 people, etc., etc. Nothing that I think is particularly unreasonable. My ex, who I dated when I was 22 to 26, was one of the first applicants and came to the first viewing that I conducted. I told him before the viewing that I thought he would be wasting his time to come as I didn't think he would be a good fit. He throws regular large parties, plays loud music, etc. In the 4 years I knew him, he was kicked out of multiple flats for not being considerate of others. He is also extremely controlling. During the flat viewing, he tried to tell other people that he was definitely taking the place, and was constantly telling me where he wanted furniture moved to, and which pieces I'd have to put in storage, so he can move his stuff in. After the second viewing, where he showed up unannounced, I told him that I had someone very interested and he couldn't move in. This was a white lie, as I had a few interested but no one committed yet. 2 weeks later, I re-advertised and he immediately started hassling me again. And I told him that I would absolutely never rent to him, so to leave me alone. He flipped his crap, hassling me about my daughter needing a father, that I was biased against him, etc. I ended up blocking him because he was calling all hours of the night to hassle me. Now, friends of both of us are at me to give him a second chance, and I'm starting to feel guilty. It's been 6 years since we split. Maybe he's changed and I dismissed him without consideration. Am I the a-hole here? He is not the father of my daughter. She was conceived using a sperm donor and a surrogate. I have a family history of cervical cancer, and when I was 25 or 26, I had a couple of smears that showed abnormal precancerous cells. Ex didn't want kids ever, and didn't want to go through cancer treatments, so we split up. I spent a couple years dating, but was diagnosed with cervical cancer when I was 27. I had eggs collected, and then had a full hysterectomy. After I was through with treatment and in the all clear, I arranged a surrogate and my daughter was born. Now for the top comments. Why would you give a chance to this guy? He's clearly still a massive jerk, harassing you over this. He obviously hasn't changed. Not the a-hole. What Opie needs to give him is a restraining order. Not the a-hole. I mean, his current behavior alone shows exactly why he should never, ever be your tenant. Ever. And his previous behavior's even worse. Who wants loads of parties held in their home when there's a small child around? Yeah, he's trying to be controlling now, and he doesn't even live there. Not the a-hole. And remember, no is a complete sentence. Don't even give an excuse or reason. You owe him nothing. Every response from now on needs to be a simple no, not one word more. Not the a-hole. Never rent to this guy. Tell your friends to stuff it. Terrible red flags all over the place. If you rent to him, you'll never get him out of your business. He clearly feels entitled to you and your environment. He is behaving like a stalker. The last story is titled, Am I the a-hole for not changing my rules and terminating care? I have a home daycare. I like to think I'm pretty lenient, but I do have one big rule. Don't make me the bad guy. I understand we might have different rules, but don't make your child resent me by not backing me up. Anyway, another rule is I don't allow outside toys or electronics. Kids can bring a stuffed animal for a nap if they're sleeping in rest mats, but I don't want to be responsible if something gets broken. Years ago, I used to let kids bring whatever. Then a cheap McDonald's toy broke by accident. Kid was upset and mom got mad at me. So now, it's a hard rule. Most are okay with it, but I have a new kid, 3, whose mom wanted him to bring his tablet because he needs it. I said sorry, but no. I'm not going to be responsible for it. We went back and forth, but finally she just says fine. But every morning, he's crying because she took his tablet from him in the car. She always gives me this look and says, Miss Lucy says no tablet. I always try to say we have plenty of toys, but the kid spends the whole morning sulking. I've talked to mom, asked her to leave it at home and not even put it in the car, but she says he needs it. It's been a month, and yesterday was the last straw that broke the camel's back. Kid came in crying, as usual. I tried my usual redirection, which didn't work. Mom was giving me a look of, see what you did? Then she had the nerve to say to him, I know you need your tablet. We've talked about this before. Miss Lucy is strict. That pissed me off. I ended up telling her to take him home right then and there. She was shocked and tried to stammer. He was my first kid of the day, so there was no scene. I just handed back his backpack, said he was no longer a student of mine, and began to pack his extra clothes and a sippy cup he kept. Mom was in tears as she left. My husband thinks she was right. I'm too strict and should have broken policy instead of causing drama. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. Tell your husband to watch the kid. That kid has problems if he's already addicted to that tablet. $10 says he needs it. Means I don't want to have to engage him, so I shut him up with electronics. Or tell your husband you are paying for another tablet that got ruined at your house. I have never heard of a daycare or preschool that allows expensive personal electronics, unless a child is disabled. Not the a-hole. If her only explanation was that he needs it without any context or information, then she knew your rules before enrolling her kid. She can't expect people to bend to her every whim. I agree. If she indicated it was used as a communication tool for a child with language delays / inability to communicate otherwise, that would be a totally different story. Not day hall. She had an entire month to explain to this kid that there can be no electronics at daycare. She chose to act like it was a big deal every single morning, so of course kid is going to act that way. Obviously, she wasn't even trying to follow the rules. You did right. In situations like this, you give an inch and they will take a mile. Or someone else will demand an exception. It becomes too hard to keep up with it all. Anyone with a sob story will get you to waver. You are doing the right thing to just stop it now. Your husband is kind of being a jerk about it. Why should you bend the rules for this one kid? What does he care? I'm sure you can find someone to take his place. What kind of example does it set for all of the other kids? Also, a 3-year-old should not need any electronic whatsoever. Kid is a toddler. Should not be that attached to a screen. She probably never actually parents that kid. I'm sure the tablet does all the work for her. And that's the end of this video, folks. As always, leave a comment and hit like and subscribe. And if you want more of this content, turn your notification on to get updated on the latest videos. And I'll catch you in the next one. Stay safe.